Welcome to the afternoon edition of Show Up Central Oregon. It is Friday. It's the end of the week. I don't know that we really know what weeks are anymore, but they are. It is a day. It's the end of the week. It's Friday. Just so you know, it's an end. It's a day ending in Y. And today I am privileged to once again being joined by Cheri Helt. Hey, Cheri, how are you? Oh, now I think you're muted. Hi,
How you
Cheri. I'm good.
It's good to see you, Matt.
Nice to see you. Some information has come out. Let's go into how we're doing first. As a state at flattening this curve, because I think I think people are kind of wanting to know: are we doing well? Is there, for lack of a better term, is there light at the end of the tunnel? Obviously, we can't say quite when, but how are we doing with that?
Well, I think it's really, we're doing a good job. You all are doing a great job by staying home and staying safe, and you are saving lives of your neighbors and our community. So thank you. I know that this week is going to be particularly challenging, this weekend, with the holidays coming up, and Passover was on Wednesday. So for everybody that stayed home and stayed safe during that time, thank you. And Sunday, I know it's going to look a little different for Easter, but make sure you stay home and stay safe through the holidays. And it's also going to be particularly challenging because it's going to be really good weather. And so I know you're going to want to challenge those spatial distancing, social distancing policies, but please don't, because we are doing a good job. And what we don't want to do is go backwards at this point.
Yeah, you sent me some state numbers that are definitely look like we're doing better from that standpoint, and that's good news. I mean, we're still obviously as a state we still are short on PPE and some of these other things that we need, but it looks like at least we're well. Is it this week, next week that we're supposed to be potentially at the highest, at least with the models?
Well, right now, so with our cases today in Oregon, we're 1,239 cases today of positive COVID tests, and unfortunately, I this always gives me pause and makes me think about all the families that this is affecting. We've lost 38 people in the
Mm.
state of Oregon to date due to the COVID, and we've had 24,564 tests given for the COVID coronavirus.
Mm.
Right now, we believe that we're in the height of the surge. That's what Director Allen told me on my call with him about 15 minutes ago. So it is imperative that we're in the height of the surge. But the good news is, while we're in the height of the surge, we're seeing more of a plateau. From today to if you look back on yesterday, we're only 51 cases advanced from where we were yesterday. So that is a big deal because it's a little bit over 4%. So when you're looking at these surge numbers, the thing that they're always talking about is when it doubles overnight in a 24-hour period. Well, we're at 4%. So we are seeing the fruits of our labor, if you will, and we are seeing the flattening of the curve. So with that, I hope that that encourages you to stay home and stay safe through the warm weather and through the holidays, because if we don't, we could reverse all the hard work that we've done.
Yeah, that's a really good point because I think as it definitely is warmed up, I think more and more of us are going to want to be out there, and the reality is that we need to be within the perimeter of our house, our basically, instead of getting in a massive population, because we could reverse this curve pretty quickly, and that's a none of us want that because we all want to get this economy rolling again, basically. The one thing that you sent me some numbers. The one thing that was I kind of wanted to talk about too, and I think that early in this whole thing, there was this perception that older people were hit harder. And the interesting things about the numbers that I was reading is it's 40 to 50 that seem to be actually, so it's my age bracket, that seem to be really in that kind of that sweet spot of the virus. Was
Yeah.
has that been I mean, that's just been tracking that way the entire time, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's really interesting that the majority of the outbreaks are in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, and so that is what we've been seeing with the numbers that we've been tracking. So there are some people younger, and there's obviously a lot of people that are older. I think the complications become more increased, and the risk becomes much higher for the mortality rate when you get into the older patients.
Yeah.
So I think that's why we tend to talk about the older patients more. But by no means is anyone, have immunity or freedom from this disease. This
Right.
disease is, you know, yeah, reaching all age ranges with the
Yeah.
most in the 40s and 50s.
How I know there's been a couple of updates, but St. Charles as a whole, how are we doing from a Central Oregon region? Just for those people that might be joining us,
So Central Oregon, we have 33 positive cases um, in St. Charles. So St. Charles has 33 positive cases, 8 inpatients, and 50 positive cases in the Central Oregon area. So that is up. That's the highest number that we've seen. But it again is rising at a lower level than what would be doubling. So 840 negative test results and 122 pending test
mm,
results in out of St. Charles today.
uh, how are we doing nationwide? I know when we talked on Tuesday, we were the second lowest. I think is that what you said? And then, but how are we doing nationwide as far as if there's a competition, I guess, for being one of the lowest states?
Yeah, we want to win that competition. So we're still on the very bottom of the states, and I think that's really important. And I think too, I mean, it's because we have really, Oregon has an incredible fabric of being a community and working together. That's one of the things that I always say I love the best about Central Oregon is I can call up someone in my community and they're working with 12 other people on whatever issue I want to talk to them about. And you don't see that as much in other places. And so I think, our community fabric and our tremendous collaboration efforts are really paying off with this stay home, stay safe. And we did it earlier than others did too.
Yeah, we definitely did. I keep telling people it's funny because you talked about winning this one, and I'm kind of like, we're all going to get participation medals when we're done with this. That is for sure.
I'll give you one at the end.
Okay, thanks, thanks, Cheri. Okay, so I'm going to move us on to an issue that, and let's talk a little bit about unemployment. Obviously, some numbers came out nationwide, and I know our numbers also have come out at this point in time. Not obviously, expected. I mean, yes, they were expected to be high, but I think we had no idea they were going to be quite as high. 100,000, almost. Well, actually, 100,700 last week. What do you guys? I mean, what are you guys feeling on a state level? How are we going to handle this? I guess more than anything else.
So I think this is going to be one of the more this really just breaks my heart. Like this is a hard statistic. We were at 56,000. No, wait, what was it? 76,000 last week, and this week we rose with 100,700 initial claims for unemployment. So that means that people are still coming in to joblessness, and you know the initial closures of businesses hit very hard to certain sectors like the hospitality industry, but now we're getting into other sectors and we're still seeing this climb. Um, we now have 270,000 people that have filed for unemployment due to COVID outbreak. That is a big number for our state, and it is just heartbreaking because we want everybody to be able to get income to be able to afford their homes and afford to
Mhm.
feed their families, and it's just really really a heartbreaking um, place that we all find ourselves in, but we're doing this to save lives and stay home and keep everyone safe. So the hard part has been that there is unemployment for a lot of people, and these claims are getting overwhelmed. And, I'm working day and night with my constituents to try and figure out and work through their denials. And I've had a lot of people call from just doing this show, and it's really, my pleasure to help them with that. But the reality is that with these 270,000 claims, normally in 1 year, we only have 140,000 claims in an entire year for
Mm.
unemployment.
Wow.
So this is 2 years of unemployment claims in 3 weeks.
Wow.
So the system is completely overwhelmed, and we're now seeing the process start to evolve where people are getting processed. And that's going to mean so much to our families that they can, pay their bills and feed their families. And I think it's so important that, everyone can pay their rent. I know we've put moratoriums on evictions, but the stress of not being able to pay your rent is real. And that affects our health as well.
Hmm.
And so getting these unemployment benefits out is going to be the key to alleviating a lot of family dynamic stress that we are experiencing right now. And so I think that we're starting to get a little bit over the hump on the unemployment department has hired a lot more people. They hired 400 people at the beginning of this week. They will be processing claims next week. And this new influx of staff, and that is going to be tremendously helpful to getting down the claims coming in and getting them processed to money going out to people's homes and their families. And with that, it's just so important that people know that no one's forgot you.
Hmm.
That, people are working really, really hard to make sure you get that unemployment claim processed. But the workload is so heavy that you're in that workload. And so getting through that is going to be really huge. I think next week we'll see some real monumental gains. Right before this call, I haven't had time all day. I've been on Zoom calls since 9 o'clock this morning. One of the things that's really interesting about my new Zoom lifestyle, as all of yours, you don't have any transition time. So you go from one meeting, 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock, the next one starts at 2. So I don't have a lot of time to check my email in the day. But I did get a text from Natasha, who had watched this show on Tuesday, and she was denied. And I gave her some information on where to send her claim to get some help. And she texted that she had got unemployment benefits. So she
Oh,
had got an acceptance letter today.
that's good. That's
So,
great.
yeah, so I think I'm looking forward to next week hearing some more positive stories from people that they've navigated through the system, because I think that's what we're going to see next week. So I know this is tough, and my heart is with you, but know that we're headed more towards relief soon. And the PPP loans they're going to start distributing them this weekend, is what I'm told.
Mm.
So businesses will also start to see some relief. And with those PPP loans, remember, 70% of that has to be spent on payroll. So that means a lot of you will be getting hired again to come back and work at your regular salary if your employers have been so lucky as to get their funds. And so that's a really good thing to look forward to as well. So I think we have, we're in the height of the surge now, and we're starting to get a little bit of relief, and we'll be getting more in days to come. And next week looks, to me, a lot brighter than this week did.
Mm. Hey, quick question. So you said 500 new employees. Is that correct? Is that what you said next week?
400.
400. Okay. And do you know if it's 400? I mean, what is a normal? Prior to the surge, how many caseworkers were there? Just
I don't know that answer, but
because
it seems like an awful lot.
I'm kind of like, okay, so if you're doing 400, it feels like maybe we were, I don't know how many, the because we're obviously ramping up in order to support that. So
Well, and that was one of the problems that we talked about a couple, like I think last week, was we went from the lowest unemployment in one single day to the highest unemployment, um, and that happened literally overnight. So what that meant for the unemployment department is they had the lowest amount of staff they've ever had because they had low claims. So they went from low staff with the highest claims, and we are really fortunate to have them hired up and be ready next week to really tackle that incoming those incoming applications and be turning them around to get dollars into people's hands so that we can make sure there's relief.
yeah, and I think it's important to reinforce the fact that we've now gotten 2 years worth of cases in 2 weeks, a week, uh,
3 weeks.
3 weeks. 3 weeks, 2 years worth of cases in 3 weeks into a system that is definitely not used to supporting that for sure. So, as I'm hearing Cheri say, relief is coming. It just might take a little bit longer. The PPP, I know it's sort of been a on again, off again for a lot of business
And then
owners.
before we leave unemployment, one more thing, Matt,
Yeah,
if I could.
yeah, absolutely, Cheri.
So on the 20th of this month, if you're an independent contractor and you don't qualify for unemployment insurance, look towards the 20th of this month. That's when they're going to start taking the solo applications for the federal stimulus package of unemployment. So that's the extra $600. If you qualify for unemployment, that will just be added to your benefits. But if you're an independent contractor and you don't qualify for state unemployment, you'll still qualify for this. So those applications will be coming up on the 20th. So hold off until the 20th, and then I can keep you posted and look towards the unemployment insurance website as well to see when those are coming. But that there is relief in sight for you as well.
Good. Yeah, no, thank you. I appreciate you interjecting that. And I did have one other question that I had gotten from somebody. There's some concern as a business owner right now that they can't get, they're getting forms as far as they need to fill them out for, potentially employees that, they can't, they're not sure what to do. And they're not able to get a hold of anybody within the state. Is that, I mean, I guess from a state level, are you guys addressing, okay, we've got this huge backlog, how do we help the employers as well as the employees?
So what happens when an employee files unemployment is it's sent to the employer to verify because the employer pays into the unemployment fund. So what I would encourage every employer to do is to fill those out as fast as possible and turn them back in. So all you have to do, they're only a few minutes to fill out, and then you just have to get them back in. And I believe you can still fax them. So try not to send them through snail mail because that'll delay the claim even longer. But getting them through scanned back in through an email process or faxing them would be really appreciated by your employees
Mm-hmm.
to make sure that they can get their unemployment faster. Another way for you guys to check if you filed unemployment and you're waiting for your benefits and you feel like, maybe my application got lost, I'm nervous about this, call your employer and see if they have received that form, that confirmation that you filed, because then you'll know that your application is in process, and that will help because it's a quick, easy way to not be on that website and not be on the phone to tie up those lines or be waiting for a long time because your employer will be able to directly respond to you and let you know, oh yeah, I got that form last week and I sent it back.
Mm-hmm.
That means you're real close.
Right. So again, so if I think what I've also heard though is there is that concern from an employer standpoint. How do I if I've got some questions, it's the system is completely overwhelmed. What are you addressing, or is the state addressing how we can help the employers get those forms if they've had any questions done quicker? Has that been looked at, or is that just more of an isolated case that I'm hearing?
I haven't heard of that, but if you hear of anybody, you can send them my way and I
Okay.
can walk them through that. Um, And they can also call the unemployment department, but it is so tied up and it's really hard to be able to work through that. I'm wondering if there's anywhere on their website for frequently asked questions that might walk you through filling out that form as well.
Yeah, I'll reach out to this person and see. So I do have a question. Obviously PPP is one of those things that is, I heard you state that we got some relief on the way, which is great, which is fantastic. It's been a bit of a challenge, I guess, for some, and then I've heard others that have had no problems.
Yeah.
So what, I guess, what are you hearing, and how is the state working to figure out some other ways, or is it just sort of hit or miss at this point in time?
Well, today, to put this in context, is 14 days from passage. So the CARES Act was passed 14 days ago and signed into law. So in that 14 days, the federal government is getting out all of these investments into our communities, investments into hospitals, investments into unemployment benefits, investments into businesses. And they are already putting funds forward and moving funds into these areas. So this is unprecedented for how quickly this is moving. But at the same time, we are all at home and staying safe and saving lives. And when we're doing this, time has stood still. I think you said, is it Friday or what day is it? I keep joking with my husband, it's today. Because in the restaurant industry, we're very much driven by what day it is, because Friday is way different than Monday or Sunday. And early on in this, he said, should we close on Sunday? Because that's normally a slow day. And I said, there is no day, honey. It's just today. And that's sort of what we found is we don't know when we'll have more to-go orders or less to-go orders, because the day doesn't matter as much as it used to.
Right.
But with 14 days and getting all of this funding, not only the laws written to put the funds into the accounts and then have them delivered, but then have them, like, the last Friday was the first day that the PPP loans could be accepted. On Thursday at 4:45, the banks received the regulations for the loans that they were supposed to take starting 12:01 on Friday morning. So people are moving at such fast speed that there's a lot of things that keep changing, like the PPP loans. There's been multiple iterations of the form. And so a lot of people have been filling out more forms. But the thing about that is, at least someone's got your loan and you haven't been forgotten or left behind. So, at least it's still in process. But it is only 14 days. So that's really monumental and really interesting to think about that timeline.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and again, like you're saying, these are unprecedented times. I mean, the reality is what we're doing in 14 days is things that were done in 2 years, 3 years. I mean, to have the government spin up something like this in 14 days is, I'm 46 years old, and I don't know that government has ever moved this fast. So, I mean, I guess there's hope for the future that we can get things done quicker, right? Isn't that what's going to happen?
Well, I mean, think about it. If we said the government would unanimously agree and spend $2 trillion in 14 days, 2 months ago, we would all thought you were crazy,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, for sure, absolutely. State.
My dog is knocking at my door.
Okay, all right, okay, that sounds good. I will wait till you. Oh, there we go. That's the dog's inside. Who let the?
She normally sits at my feet, but she was just scratching at the door.
She's like, "Hey, mom, I want in. I want in.
Yeah.
I want in." So it. I know when we first started this conversation a few weeks ago, we had talked about something that the state needed to do as far as a state legislature. Is that still needing to be done? What's going on with that?
Well, we're working on getting a short session together. I still do think that we need to move. I think there's a lot of things that need to be done. For instance, I was on the phone with the governor's office at 3 o'clock trying to get the e-notarization process done. That's really important for all of our estate lawyers and our real estate companies and our title companies because they're still trying to, close houses and sales and fill out, all the wills and all these types of documents. And they can't because the notarization process. So we're stalling our economy in a section where if we can get some e-notary ability through statute, we can be able to do that. And so I'm hopeful that we can get that. I was hopeful we could get it yesterday, but I'm holding out. Maybe Monday would be great. But there's things that need to be done like that. There's also, I wanted to act early because what I would have preferred to see was us to put money into rental assistance,
Mm.
money into food, and money to help support our first responders and all of this. And so we didn't do that because I knew that the federal money would take a while to get out, and I wanted to put it in existing channels for our state. I also wanted to give some supports for hotel and motel vouchers for our homeless because this is going to be a crisis that's really going to affect our homeless due to the fact that it's a social distancing crisis and homeless shelters are very close together.
Hmm.
And so we have to look at it a little bit differently. So these are important issues to address. If we could have put some money into existing channels and been able to get that out quickly, I think it would have meant a lot of relief for the people that we keep talking about on the show that are on unemployment, that are really struggling with income at this time. And we weren't able to get that done. And so now we're waiting for the federal funds to come in, get disseminated, and then see where we need to fill in as a state. And
Hmm.
so that's what we're looking at is a session in probably early May would be my guess at this point. But it's just a guess. Um, and I'm just hopeful that we can make sure that everyone stays whole through this crisis because we need Central Oregon to dust its doorsteps off and look the same as it did when we came into this crisis.
Yeah, for sure. Uh, I'm not going to even say it, but crystal ball. I mean, the reality is we have to stay safe, and so we don't want to make any projections on where we're going to start being. The
Well,
get.
I think we're going to start looking at what are the markers that we're looking for. One of the markers that the governor's office has talked about is no deaths from the coronavirus for 10 days, 10 to
Mhm.
14 days. And so we'll look at that. And we've got to start looking at a comprehensive plan. And I'm encouraging everyone from a state level to start looking at what that means. I was on a call today with the governor's office and other legislators, the city of Bend, and I said, let's start looking at what that looks like because in order to make sure we preserve our work, we've got to have markers and we've got to be able to tell people what it's going to look like when we can get out of this. And I think that's really important because as people sit home and it's nice out, we need you to stay in your homes so that we don't lose all the work that we've done. But we also need to be able to communicate to you a path to get back to normal.
All right. How do we, as citizens, Cheri, how do we help support you in that and better communicate to, other people in government that what we are needing as citizens and as business owners?
Yeah, I think you just reach out. I know you have my contact info. Always feel free to reach out to me for anything. And also reaching out, to the governor, reaching out to the speaker and the president of the Senate so that everyone knows what you're thinking and letting your voice be heard
Hmm.
because we all have a unique story right now. And the more that people understand how this is affecting you, the more that we can try and help. One thing that was really encouraging yesterday was at 8 o'clock, I heard that we got $60 million extra from the federal government that was put into our SNAP benefits. So that's for food
Oh,
benefits.
wow.
And what I was told is that they're going to take everybody that has SNAP benefits and move them up to a the full benefits. So whatever you would normally have qualified for, you're going to be moved up to full benefits for the next 2 months. So that is really helpful for families, and I think that's going to bring a lot of relief because that's $60 million that was placed into the system. So that's a big deal.
Wow, that is good. So that happened. That transpired last night. Is that what you were saying?
Yeah, that's what I was notified of that last night. So that's exciting news because we knew that there was an infusion of funds for food assistance, but I didn't hear where they hit. I didn't hear that anyone had received them, and I kept talking on calls with our CAPO, which is the organizations that do the food banks and homeless sheltering across the state, and then also the Oregon Food Bank. But no one had seen the money yet, so it was glad that it unveiled itself, and we can get some of that money out to families.
Yeah, that is good. Cheri, before I let you go, anything that you want to make sure that people are knowing in general? Just give you an opportunity to say something.
Yeah, I just want to say that know that you might feel alone right now, but you're not alone. We're all in this together, and we are doing incredible work, and we're seeing this virus in its surge, and we're lowering the amount of cases to just around 50 a day for the last week, which is great news. It's still increasing, but not very much. And keeping up what you're doing, and know that there's a lot of resources to reach out if you are feeling lonely or depressed or you need some help with substance abuse. Um, Make sure that you are getting your resources. I know Ben Broadband is giving free access to internet if you know someone that doesn't have it. Ben Lapine is giving out free meals. So just make sure that you are connected with your community and getting what you need right now. And if you're not, just please let me know and I will help you figure out how we can help with that.
Sounds good. Thank you, Cheri. You have a wonderful Easter weekend. Try to get some rest, if that's even possible at this point in time.
Yeah. Thanks, Matt.
Yeah, and we'll talk again on Tuesday. So yeah,
Okay.
I'll let you get back to it, Cheri. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Okay.
All right,
Thank you, Matt.
thanks. So that was Cheri Helt, and yeah. So obviously, there's some things going on with the state. Some good things. We are moving forward, and I think in the next coming couple of weeks, I think we're going to get some relief that we've needed. I think one of the takeaways for those of us that are small businesses or self-employed, it sounds like the 20th is to be looking for the state on that, as far as be able to file for that $600 unemployment. So that'll be the 20th, and know that they're trying the best they can right now. But as you heard, 2 years worth in the last 3 weeks of unemployment. I'll let that sink in. That's a pretty amazing, scary number. But we are doing good, staying home, being safe, which is helping to hopefully get people back to work on a quicker basis. If anybody has some struggles with the policy and what's going on right now, I would encourage you to go read. I believe it was a study that was done recently about the 1918 flu that showed when we did a isolation, the cities that did isolation and as quick as possible actually recovered quicker too. So while the initial shock is monumental, I believe that we're moving forward. I always have believed that, even when I started this, and we are going to get through this. Today's word for the day was hope. I still believe that we can be hopeful that we are going to get through this. I know we will get through this, but I also hope that through this, we all find ourselves to be in a better place. We're spending better time with families. We're spending better time with a lot of different people in some ways. I think we are communicating more than we have in the past. When we Zoom meeting, we are actually listening because we have to listen, and that's an amazing thing as well. So I've got a John Bullock coming up here at 4:30. I'm going to be talking about a little bit about education and what's going on. And yeah, so I appreciate all of you guys. And remember, we're all going to continue to show up for Central Oregon.